Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. This is our WWE show for the week. My name is George Coles and let's jump right into the fire. First off, we have the match that I thought, coming into the show, first off I was surprised they started with the match. Second off, when they announced the combatants, I was overly excited. We had CM Punk versus Luke Harper. Luke Harper, is a guy I'm a really big fan of. I think he's going to be the real breakout star of the Wyatt family. I think the way they're using him as against CM Punk, and then on Friday on SmackDown he wrestles Daniel Bryan, shows that they believe in him as well. Thought this was an awesome match. Got to see a little bit more of Luke Harper and what he can do. Guy's absolutely great worker for a big guy. CM Punk, one of the best in the world, of course he says it, picks up the win with a roll-up. I thought it added a lot to it. I thought added more to Luke Harper from him losing in a fluky way than him winning or losing by disqualification, because it showed that it took CM Punk to surprise him. CM Punk, a person that we know is a legitimate world heavyweight contender, had to surprise him to get the pin. Which afterwards the Wyatt family attacked him, which brought out Daniel Bryan. So moving forward, it looks like Punk and Bryan are going to join forces to go against the Wyatt family. Now, speaking of a former family member, a little bit shaky on that segue. We had a phone interview with Paul Heyman, which everybody went and jumped on right away. Interestingly enough, Paul Heyman, the manager that was known to carry the big brick cell phone. If you're under 30 years old, you may not remember him. If you are, just think of the cordless phones, which a lot of people don't have now anyway. But go to your grandparents' house, look at the cordless phones they have, and basically that is what the cell phones used to be, is that size of a phone that people used to carry around, and it was actually a legitimate weapon. Paul Heyman, when he was Paulie Dangerously, used that as his weapon. Gave an interesting phone interview, cried a bit when he was talking about what had happened to him at the hands of CM Punk. So I think we're going to see Paul Heyman be off television for a while and come back rejuvenated, maybe with some new to Heyman guys, maybe with just Brock Lesnar. I think they're going to break Ryback and Curtis Axel away from him. I don't think that it's worked out in the way that they would want it to. I don't think it's gone bad, but I don't think it's helped out Axel and Ryback as much as they wish it would have. Speaking of Ryback, he had a match against the Great Khali. They showed a preface to it where he hit Hornswoggle in the face with a cupcake. Khali dominates for about a minute and a half till Ryback hits the meat hook clothesline. I thought this was really an awkward match, and it shows how far Ryback has fallen down the roster, that he's wrestling a guy like Khali and he's not using the shell shock to beat him. I thought it was very weirdly put, and to me it started a trend for the show of just not interesting and boring matches, and we'll go forward with that. The next match we had was Kofi Kingston versus Alberto Del Rio, which talent versus talent wise could be a great match. However, everybody and their grandmother has seen this match dozens of times. Every time it ends the same way. Kofi has a lot of offense, but Del Rio gets him in the cross arm breaker. Happens here. Del Rio wins. The balloons start, after the high I got from the first match, the balloons started really deflating in this area. Next up we had Randy Orton, and he wrestled Big E Langston, who actually won a WWE app poll. It was either him, Ziggler, and I believe The Miz was the third choice. But Big E won it. Surprisingly, I thought Ziggler would have ran away with it personally. Not that Big E's bad. This match, it was okay. Orton obviously picks up the win. Did a lot to show that Big E Langston's in his league, much like CM Punk did with Luke Harper. This match showed Big E Langston as a threat. I don't know if the stepping up to the level of Randy Orton, or maybe just their styles clashed a little bit too much that it didn't work. But for me, or maybe it was the two matches that led into it, that I just didn't. My heart wasn't truly into this match, I guess. And I don't know, they didn't really draw me in. Coming off of that, we had something that I thought I got excited when I seen it, but then it got disappointing as it went along. Summer Rae and Fandango versus Natalya and the returning Tyson Kidd. I was excited, I was jacked up, I was ready to go. Then I started thinking about it. Why haven't they announced Tyson Kidd's coming back? Why hasn't there been a promo package, anything like that? Why all of a sudden do we get him thrown out in a mixed tag match? And I know you can't do that for everybody, but Tyson Kidd is a great talent, a great worker. I think he has a lot of charisma. I think if packaged right, he could be someone that's a major star in the company. Comes in, he does his thing, wins with the sharpshooter. Tyson and Natalya pick up the win, newlyweds. I think this is more to do with Total Divas than it is to do with a push or non-push for Tyson Kidd. I think that they realized that those two were pretty much stars of the show, and it's coming back on, I believe, either this week or next week. Don't quote me because I don't remember what the schedule is for it to come back. So I think they're trying to get all the people on the show back on. I just wish they would have hyped Tyson Kidd coming out more. The match itself was decent. It wasn't a bad match at all, especially by the stretch of a mixed tag match in this era, which pretty much is as bad as a match as you can book, or style-wise, not competitors. But I just wish they would have done a little bit more to promote Tyson Kidd coming back and made it more special. After that, we had someone that recently came back, Goldust and Cody Rhodes and John Cena, going up against the Real Americans and Damian Sandow. I thought this was a glimmer of hope that the ship was turning back around. This match is by far the match of the night, even more so than Punk vs. Luke Harper, which I thought was a great match. This was just had a little bit more. John Cena busted out brand new moves, which anytime he does that, that's exciting. He pulled out the Cena Conrana. We had Antonio Cesaro, sorry folks, do the Golden Giant Swing with Goldust. Cena and the Rhodes Brothers win. I thought it was a great match. Well placed, got me excited and ready to go forward with the rest of the show after the letdowns that were leading up to it. But which reminds me of our question of the week from last week. Letdowns being that a lot of times comebacks are letdowns. The question was, who would you like to see make a Goldust style return where they come back and basically do what Goldust has recently? Now we have some answers from our friends. First is from our friend. It's from our friend Sonic Rules 94. All I want out of life is for Stone Cold Steve Austin to return to the ring for one more match. It could be a once-in-a-lifetime versus CM Punk. Hell, I'd even pay to see him versus Rock number 4. Stone Cold should be the new Goldust. If Steve Austin said no, Kurt Angle, I want Kurt. Kurt's probably going to be hard to do. I think he's got a pretty ironclad TNA contract, probably as much as you can. Now the second one, and I'm sorry, I cut off the name on it when I printed this out. I don't know who to attest it to. I do apologize, but another one of our friends said, I don't know who I'd like to make the return to the WWE, but they should be used to highlight a title like Goldust Return has highlighted the tag titles. Very good point. And that point actually got me thinking of somebody I'd like to see make a return, much like this. I think XPac, Sean Waltman, Six, the 123 Kid, whatever you call him by, I think he would be a great person if he's beaten his demons, which I believe he has. I heard him recently on the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast. I would love to see him come back and be a guy that challenges for the U.S. title or the Intercontinental title, help bring a little bit more prestige back into those titles. If he's anywhere near the wrestler he was at his prime, he could be a real asset. Plus, he could teach these kids there's a lot of ring psychology that X-Pac knows that people don't realize how good of a wrestler he really was. We all hear the term X-Pac heat, where it means that no one gave a crap about him. I beg to differ, because I've been to a lot of crowds and a lot of matches that X-Pac wrestled, and he definitely got a pop, or he definitely got heat at the time. And I've seen tons of show where he drew heat and he drew pops. Now, was there a few matches where he wrestled listlessly and probably drugged or drunk? Yes, there was. But the same could be said about Goldust, which is the parallel we're relating this to. I'd like to see X-Pac come back, come full circle, come back to the WWE, help teach some of the young guys, put them in a feud. Imagine a feud with him and CM Punk, based off of the styles of wrestlers they are. That would be absolutely amazing, in my opinion. That's my guy I'm picking. Now, coming off of that, we'll have a question, and we'll keep it kind of related, because Goldust and Cody are the tag team champions. Who's been your favorite WWE tag team of all time? Could be WWE, WWF, WWF. The only prerequisite is it's only based on their WWE career. Doesn't matter what they did in TNA, NWA, AWA, WCW, ECW, World Class Championship Wrestling, Mid-South Wrestling. All that is ignored, just solely based on their WWE career. Who is your favorite WWE tag team? Let us know what you think. Hit us up on Facebook, hit us up on Twitter. Put it down where? Down in the comments. Now, coming off of that, we had our next match, which was Dolph Ziggler versus Curtis Axel, non-title match. Ziggler picks up the win. I see this as a foreshadowing of the Intercontinental title coming off of Curtis Axel very shortly. I'd imagine Big E Langston be the guy to take it off of him. I think he's kind of fell flat in his return. There was a lot of hype of what Paul Heyman could do for him, and I don't think it really has panned out as much as they would have liked to have seen it. So I really do think that this is going to be time for him to drop and move on to something else. Speaking of moving on to the next match, we had the Usos versus Drew McIntyre and Heath Slater representing 3MB. Usos pick up the win, as I expected. Going back, like I said, coming off the 6-man tag match, we went right back into mediocrity. And this is a match that could easily have been a main event match. This could have been a Superstars match. This is not a match I want to see on Monday Night Raw. I had no question who was winning this match. There was no reason for the match other than to highlight the Uso brothers, which I think are a great tag team. I really do, but just this match had no interest to me. And the next match didn't either. The Bella Twins and Eva Marie versus AJ Lee, Tamina Snuka, and Oksana. Oksana's so randomly used on television. Why should anybody care? Again, the Bellas and Eva, I think it ties in, much like I said with Tyson and Natalya, ties into the Divas show coming back. The Bellas and Eva Marie pick up the win. Eva Marie wins with the roll-up from the Kelly special. I really don't want to talk badly about the Divas, but this was just a bad match. I mean, we had some good wrestlers in there. AJ and Tamina are good workers. Brie Bella has gotten a lot better. But then again, we had Nikki Bella, Eva Marie, and Oksana, who are subpar and drug the match down, in my opinion. Sure, they're pretty to look at. And I understand that that's one of the main purposes they do this. Don't get me wrong, the looks factor, I understand it means a lot in part of the television show. But I could turn into any network television show and see pretty girls. I could tune into a show like The Big Bang Theory, see Kelly Cuoco, I hope I'm pronouncing her last name right, I don't think I am though, who's absolutely stunningly beautiful, but also amazingly funny. I could tune into a show like, I'm just trying to think of one off the top of my head, The Walking Dead. Could tune into Walking Dead. I don't know what the actress's name is, but Maggie from The Walking Dead, stunningly beautiful girl, great actress at the same time. There's beautiful women all over the place, just like there's attractive men all over the place on every television show there is. I want to see more. I want to see a reason for me not to change and watch another more interesting woman on a different show. Just my opinion. Now next up we had something that was built up for all night, was the Big Show having a in-ring meeting with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, basically talking about settling his lawsuit, which he tells them, you know, I want a contract and I want a match against Randy Orton. Triple H is reluctant. Stephanie tells him what the board of directors think. He finally agrees. Since he's now under contract, Triple H puts him in a match against The Shield and Randy Orton, who pretty much he wins by disqualification when they just destroy him with chairs. A little bit weirdly placed. This came on about 11:05, which everybody knows it's pretty much the end of their overrun. It went a couple minutes longer than it normally does. It drug out a show that was already dragging out even more so. The only highlight of it was Corporate Kane coming out in a suit looking like Politician Kane that we've all seen recently. Other than that, it was weirdly placed, fluff filler. A lot of the night was a lot of filler matches. And I'm going to go right into our ratings. Now, if you've seen the show before, we have a 1 to 5 scale. 1's the worst, 5 is the best. I'm giving the show a 1. I wanted to give it a 2, but I'm giving it a 1. Now, again, preface that. A 1's a Great Khali, 2's a Heath Slater, 3's a Randy Orton, 4's a CM Punk, 5's a Daniel Bryan. I'm going with a 1, a Great Khali for this show. The 6-man tag and the Punk vs. Luke Harper were amazing. If we could have separated those two matches out and then built the rest of the show as decent, this probably would have been a 4 or 5 show. However, there's so much bad on the show that it drug it all the way down to a 1. The Ryback and Great Khali, terrible. Kofi and Alberto Del Rio, way too predictable. Orton and Big E just didn't seem to click with each other. Summer Rae and Fandango versus Tyson and Natalya. Again, another match that should have been hyped up more but wasn't. Ziggler versus Axel. Nothing great happened there. Just a standard blah blah match that I could see on any show and any promotion anywhere. The 6-woman Divas match, absolutely terrible. And the end segment was absolutely terrible. Now we have Big Show taking over Daniel Bryan's role. We're going to see him get beat down all the way to the pay-per-view. At which point he'll get screwed at the pay-per-view. But, you know, basically all around a terrible, boring, hard to stay interested in show. I give it a 1, a Great Khali. Basically, that's all I have to say about that. My name is George Coles, and this has been another episode of Heel Heat.